You see here on topic 2, it says, battle your brain. Have you ever noticed that your brain fights you all the time? Yeah, your brain fights back all the time. Just like your kids, when you get in arguments with your kids. How many people have gotten in arguments with your kids? Yeah, your kids. And then your parents. It's like you got to argue down and up. Your parents, and now they're still your family. You still have arguments. You have arguments with your friends and your cousins. The last thing we need is arguments with our brain. But we have arguments with our brain that we don't even realize we have those arguments with our brain. And it comes up all the time. Let me give you some examples. New Year's Day. What's the most popular New Year's resolution? Lose weight. Lose weight. So it's New Year's Day. You wake up at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. Right? Because you're having fun. You went to sleep. You stayed up till 4:30. And then you wake up 1 p.m. You eat and then you go to a New Year's Day party. You eat your food. And you get to the dessert. And there's this dream cake. Oh, dream cake's my favorite. You guys know what dream cake is? It's like the layered chocolate cake with a frosting. And between each layer, it has a chocolate pudding. Then there's little chocolate shavings and curls on there. And it's so good. And so here's how it works, right? This is how you battle your brain. You look at it and you go, well, I know my New Year's resolution was to lose weight. And that's the opposite of losing weight. But then your brain starts doing things. It starts battling and starts saying, well, most people don't start their New Year's resolution until the second day. Right? And I probably worked off a lot of calories and stuff since I stayed up till 4:30 in the morning. And so and I'll just take a small piece. It's only a sliver. It's this tall, but you only take a sliver, and so you ended up, you lose, and you battled, your brain battled you, and it won. So that's one example. How about another example? Waking up in the morning. I hear this one all the time. Oh, I can't wake up in the morning. Your brain battle happens in the morning. Your brain wins all the time in the morning because you're all like groggy. So the alarm goes off, it's ringing, and you have to decide whether or not you're going to wake up or hit snooze. And then your brain starts saying stuff to you. And it's Monday, you got a lot of stuff going on. You got to do so much stuff at work, and you get the kids ready, all this stuff. But your brain says, oh, I'm not going to be effective unless I sleep for 15 more minutes. So you hit the snooze again. And then your brain says, I can do it. I do this every day. I can sleep a little bit more. And then 2 hours later, you're scrambling and your whole day is messed up because your brain won again and you're battling your brain. Here's how it works in sales. Let's say you're at an open house, or even better, you're at a listing consultation, right? You're at a listing consultation. Everything's going pretty good. And then it's the point where you're going to bring out the listing documents and ask them to sign the documents. And then your brain starts battling you again. Because the people that don't naturally and haven't built that skill to close yet, the brain takes over. And it starts saying things like, well, they told me that they're going to interview one more realtor, so maybe I'm not going to bring out that document. Because I don't want them to say no. Or when they scratch their head, does that mean they didn't like what I was saying? Your brain does some weird things because it doesn't want to get rejected. It's trying to keep you safe. Or your brain says, well, my style is that they ask me and say, so what do we do next? Yeah, that's my style, is what do we do next? And your brain talks you out of closing. That's what happens in sales. It happens all the time. So let's talk about battling back, taking control back from your brain. The first thing you have to realize is you have to observe what's happening in your brain. You have to figure out what's happening. So here's how you do that, is you meditate. Has anyone ever meditated? I mean, truly meditated? So here's you could fall asleep or your brain goes crazy. See, the thing about meditation is, some people think it's to clear your mind. Unless you're enlightened, your mind is not going to get clear. Our brain doesn't go away. And I'm not enlightened, so I haven't figured that out. I meditate every morning. I'm up to about 25 minutes. And let me tell you, it's hard to increase the amount of time. Because what you're supposed to do in meditation is figure out to focus on one thought. So people think about focusing on breathing or relaxing or envisioning an escalator, whatever it is, one thought. And as you're thinking about one thought, other things happen in your brain. Your brain starts thinking about other things. And then like 3 minutes later, you go, oh my gosh, I totally got sidetracked, and you bring your brain back to the breathing. That's observing your brain. That's what meditation does. It trains you to observe your brain, to know what's going on with your thoughts, and then to bring your thoughts back to center. So that's one thing you can do. Here's another thing that you can do to observe your thoughts. Anyone ever used the quarter technique and the quarter in the jar? So I've seen it for families. What they do is they say, anytime you swear, you got to go and take a quarter from your allowance, you got to put it in the jar. So then you know how many times you swear. You're observing what you're doing, your actions, where you can do it in your head too. So you can choose what the thought is. Anytime I think of this, I'm going to put a quarter in this jar. Now you're going to be carrying a jar around. Maybe you can do a fanny pack or something. But that's a technique to observe your brain. And you'll start finding that your brain does certain things over and over and over again. However, you'll start be able to choose what you want to do. So the second step is once you've observed your brain, you know what's going on, then what you need to do is argue back. Don't let your brain win. Now don't do it out loud. People think you're crazy. Do it in your brain. Right? If it says, I'm not going to wake up, battle. Say, I am going to wake up. It's that simple. I am going to wake up. Well, how do you do that? You can use the quarter technique for that too. Anytime I stood up to my brain, I put a quarter in the jar. See, what we're trying to do is create triggers so you'll be able to make changes. Now, we don't want you to make changes like looking crazy if you're battling your brain outside and out loud. We want you to make changes that are going to be in line with what you want. And that could be your goals, your dreams, your path, your activities that you decided you're going to do. So when you are observing your brain, and then you said, I'm going to talk back to my brain in my head, and I'm going to make decisions based on the journey that I want to take, my dreams, my goals, then all of a sudden you're on the right path. So here's what you do. The next time you're at an open house, and in your brain says to yourself, oh, I think they like me. Maybe they didn't like me. No, they're kind of they must have an agent. They probably have an agent. They wrote an agent over there. I'm not going to ask. I'm not going to say, hey, let's work together. I'm not going to talk about another property. Realize that that's what your brain is doing to you. You know what your goal is in real estate. Battle your brain back and say, what's best for me to do? What's best for you to do is actually ask for the business in whatever way you want. It'll make a huge difference. So battle that brain. All right, let's move on to the next topic.